All right, guys, welcome back to the WorkAway Podcast. I'm your host, John Hindo, and today we have a very exciting guest, longtime friend. His name is Marc Plante. He is the owner of Stray Dog Brewing Company. Marc, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me here.
No worries. Excited to have you on here. It's a little bit different from some of the other guests that we've had, but I'm really excited to learn more about the brewery business and behind it. So I guess I want to start off with, what was the moment that's made you say, I'm starting a brewery?
You know what? I think the moment was I was working a regular job, and I was just homebrewing as a hobby, and I was doing pretty well with the homebrew stuff. The quality that was coming out was good. I met my friend and partner now, Justin McNeil. We were both homebrewers, and just the conversations that we had about the craft beer scene in Ottawa at the time. This is probably back in 14, 15, something like that. We were seeing just the explosion of craft beer in Ontario, and then in particular in Ottawa. But the fact that there wasn't one in Orleans, which is where I grew up and I live, and Justin lives, population of about 124,000 people, and not one microbrewery. And then doing a little bit of research and realizing that some of the LCBOs in that region had the highest sales of craft beer.
Really?
Kind of gave us a bit of a pause and say, well, if other people are opening up breweries, why can't it be us? We're making good product, and we liked our jobs, but we didn't love it. So let's look at this as a new challenge,
And right, then that's where the whole stray dog thing comes from too, right? You guys strayed out on your own as stray dogs.
That's exactly it, yeah. So a lot of people always ask us about where the name Stray Dog comes from, and a lot of people think because we are a dog-friendly brewery that's really what the impetus is, or that, we're just big fans of dogs, which we are, mine's a rescue. But really it is just a metaphor for life, and it's about cutting those chains or leashes that kind of hold us back from what we really want to pursue in life. A lot of us have, hopes and dreams and hobbies and things that we'd much rather be doing. I would say that the vast majority of people, like their jobs, but at the same time, they would love to be paid to do something that they're so passionate about. But it's very difficult to do that when you have all these other outside pressures. Right? You got your, maybe have a pension or full-time benefits, you got a mortgage, you got to pay the bills, you got a family. So taking that risk, it's very daunting, Yeah. So we're not, I'm not saying, go and quit your job tomorrow and, start that pottery business or whatever. But if it is something you're truly passionate about, you only have one life to live, and tomorrow's never guaranteed. So, if it brings you joy and it brings other people joy, and you can do something to kind of enhance your life, take that risk. You'll never know what the reward is.
100%. And I've seen firsthand the impact that you've had on the community too. Working sales, working the tap room, working these events. It's just everyone always, where's Marc? Is Marc here? What's going on? And the impact that you guys have done in the 9-10 years.
It's 8 years now. We're into our 9th year now. Yeah.
And was there anything that you underestimated about the brewery business when you first got started?
Everything, man. I had never owned a business before. I was never an entrepreneur before. My background is public relations, communications, but I also have extensive experience in the hospitality industry, right? So combining those two, I was able to, I can sell an idea. I could promote something, and from a PR background, that's also doing it with very little to zero budget. But really, it was just a matter of just kind of believing in ourselves, doing what we thought was right, and also surrounding yourself with people that are smarter than you. Bringing in different skill sets to enhance your management team, I guess, right, to get to that next level.
Yeah, and that was actually my next question. Who are the people that you placed around you to, help make it possible to start the brewery?
Yeah, honestly, we got pretty lucky. When Justin and I were coming up with the concept of Stray Dog, it was it was just going to be the two of us, very small scale, very similar to what, there was another business called Stockpot Ales. They used to work out of the Wellington Gastropub. They were basically like a kitchen guy and a front of the house guy. And when the business was closed, they would brew beer in the kitchen and they fermented. And then it was like a house beer, but it was really cool. And so we thought, we'd start somewhere, find something small, very similar, small footprint, and slowly grow from there. And luckily, that didn't pan out. So, we talked to different people. We interviewed some investors. Investors interviewed us as well, and we landed on some good people that believed in what we were doing. Through that process, we had a third partner at the time. Her name was Jen, and she brought in a skill set that Justin and I didn't have, so she really kind of enhanced our sort of trifecta. And then her brother is an accountant.
Yeah, Yan.
Yeah, and big shout out to Yan, because honestly, like, you got to have a really good numbers guy in your corner to make sure that you try to stay in the black as much as possible, stay out of trouble, pay the taxes that you need to pay, help do some sales forecasting at the very beginning. So really, that was our Stray Dog team. Jen has since moved on. But Yan is still our accountant.
Yeah.
So really, it's just a matter of just trusting people that have a different skill set than you
and
do.
Leveraging them too, right?
Absolutely.
That's the big thing, right? Like Justin's a great brewer, he's great back of house, and you're such a great face to have out in front, shaking hands, meeting people, and like that's really leveraging Yan's number skills, because I know for me personally, I cannot do numbers. So
no,
it's
I
definitely,
don't math.
So, in those early stages, I know you had 3 beers that you called kind of like our always ons that we always keep brewed. How did you choose those first 2 to 3 core beers?
Yeah. So the first beer that we actually came out with, is called this one. It's a California Common, and it's actually not even the first beer that we brewed in Orleans. That's right. So it was the first beer that we wanted under the Stray Dog name, but because we didn't have a bricks and mortar location, we got that contracted out, or now these days they call it co-packing, to another brewery. It was out in London, Ontario. Again, another shout out to Forked River, because they're awesome guys, and they also make great beer in their own right. So they were able to brew our recipe. We just handed it over to them, and so we had cans and kegs that we were able to sell to licensees, to restaurants and bars, to kind of get our name out there, to get the product out there, to get the name socialized a little bit, and to show a little bit of record of sales, so that when we started going to lenders, we can show that, hey, there is a demand for this.
Yeah.
So that was the first beer that came under the Stray Dog name. Once we actually opened the doors to our brewery and we got all our equipment, the first beer that we brewed was called Anytime. And it's a pale ale, and it was 5%. And the whole idea, obviously, you can tell by the name that it was meant to be enjoyed anytime.
Yeah.
And the reason why we chose that style is because we had never brewed on a commercial system before. So we figured if it came with a higher alcohol level and maybe it was a little bit more bitter, then we'd call it an IPA. And if it was less than that, it would be like a session IPA or something like that. So this turned out actually exactly what we wanted, which was an American pale ale. And it also kind of gave us a baseline or a benchmark of how our equipment runs.
Yeah.
So that became a new staple. So we had the California Common, and then we had this one. Then we made a couple other beers after that, a couple of different IPAs, and then we came out with our hazy New England style IPA, and it's called Shag and Wagon. And it is still is to this day our bestseller. It's really kind of what we're really known for. And you're right, it's an absolute banger of a beer. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Hazy, citrusy, hoppy. It's got like, sometimes with IPAs, especially, those higher ones at 6.5%, I find that they can have a little bit too much hop bite, but the one, the Shag and Wagon, is just absolutely perfect. And I mean, like with the names too, like you guys, you obviously can tell that you have a PR background, because I mean, some of the names that you guys have done out there, like, Double Impeachment, sold out 3,000 cans in 72 hours.
Yeah.
Moistly Mosaic, when that was going around with Trudeau, that sold out very quickly too. Yeah. Booyah with your new, or not new, but with your seasonal fall one too. Like, I always love when you guys drop a new beer, and it's just such a creative name. It makes me come and grab them.
It's honestly, it's a lot of fun to do. I mean, that's, craft beer is meant to be fun. I always say that it's not like Scotch or even wine. Like there's a lot more. You have a lot more latitude to play with flavors, and of course, some of your viewers or listeners would argue that what about the Bavarian purity law? And because you only have like 4 ingredients. I mean, that's a very old German way of doing things. We've seen this in the marketplace now where everything is on the table. Anything that, if it tastes good, why not? There's going to be a market for it. So, so half of the fun with our business is coming up with clever names, maybe a reflection of what's happening socially at the time. So obviously, we're big kind of newsies as well. And, we pop culture plays a huge part in what we do. And then we build a little story around the beer and then with the description. So using our older skills with some of our newer skills to bring it all together.
And so does it start with like, let's brew this style first and then name, or do you start from name concept first?
Funny you should say that. So it's a little bit of on one hand and some of the other. So we've had examples where, and I think generally speaking, we'll brew the beer first, based on whatever style that's going to be, and then we'll come up with a name.
Yeah.
But I will give you an example of one where we had this concept for the name of the beer, and then it turned into a style. So anyone who is from this sort of the greater Ottawa-Gatineau area and grew up, let's say, I don't know, in the 70s and 80s, would probably remember a little show on a French channel called Bleu Nuit.
Oh, yes.
And before the internet, and trust me, there was a time before the internet, there would be this French show, usually on Friday nights around, midnight, and it was all French. It was softcore porn. So everybody around you kind of knew it, whether their parents secretly watched it or if you were, a younger teen and you'd sneak down and, try to learn French. But we always thought, because to us, it was very iconic of the area and the time. And it's kind of funny, right? So we thought Bleu Nuit would be a great name for a beer. But what kind of, you just can't make a stout and then call it Bleu Nuit because it doesn't resonate, right? Exactly. Like Blue Night, what the hell? So we actually, came up with the idea of let's make it's French. So what kind of style of beer is French? Well, a saison. So we used that style, and then to make it blue, we landed on blueberries. So we made a delicious blueberry saison. And, some people love the beer just because it's a really great beer, and some people love it for the nostalgia of the name or just because it's a funny name.
Yeah, and when I would work the tap room, I remember a lot of people would tell me, it used to be on after the Quebec Nordiques would play. And if you're lucky, you'd get the channel. But it was just interesting when people would come in and tell you all the different stories about their childhoods growing up. And is that what I think it is? And I'm like, it definitely is.
It's funny too, because we haven't made that beer in a couple of years, I think now.
You still sell the T-shirts,
but we still come out with the T-shirts. And honestly, you can always tell the demographic that you're speaking to, because you'll have some younger folks that'll just kind of look at it and go, I don't get it. And then everybody else is kind of laughs and says that's awesome.
Oh yeah, that's what I love about you guys too. And even SummerSlam, my favorite beer, the cucumber wheat too. When I was working at the craft beer festival this year for you guys, and these guys come up and this guy goes, "Let me tell you something, brother," and starts talking like Hogan, and awesome. It was just the different people that you resonate with and the people that pick up on it too. It's absolutely mind blowing. The impact that it has on people, especially when you're commenting on someone's childhood, or you're bringing up these memories, but it's now with their adult memories, and they associate it with the good times, drinking beers with friends, just having fun, which is a lot of people like doing that.
And you know what I mean, to be honest, there's a lot of great beer out there right now. Growing up, we only really had a choice of like a handful of beers, and a lot of them were very similar. So now you've got so many great beers being produced. So how do you choose one from the other? And so really that's where the power of marketing and connecting with people is so vital in this business.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree with that. Now, changing gears a little bit, challenging, through the pandemic and, 2020, everything shuts down. In those first couple of weeks, what were the first thoughts and kind of actions you take? Because a lot of your revenue comes from retail sales, comes from licensees and restaurants, and from LCBOs. And, 2 out of 3 of those were shut down for, 10 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So what were kind of some of the first thoughts and actions that you took?
Well, I don't know if I could actually vocalize my first thoughts. You can just imagine being a small business owner and everything kind of shuts down on you, and you realize that, okay, restaurants all have to close. So first thought was, okay, does that apply to us? We don't serve food, so let me reach out to some of our partners and see what some of the options are. So I reached out to a good friend of ours, Brad Campo. He owns Brew, which is Ottawa's only craft beer tour bus kind of thing in the area. And his whole business pretty much is, other than taking people physically to breweries, the storefront is really just a web page built on Shopify. And so we were using Shopify just to kind of host our web page. And Brad, when I say he actually showed us how to turn that into an actual store. And very quickly, from talking to some other people too, we were able to pivot to home delivery, which really saved our bacon for the first 3 months. Everybody was stuck at home, so everybody was buying cases of beer. I'm sure people can remember those early days. Well, maybe they don't remember, because it was such a fever dream, but it really helped us a lot. You know what I mean? It kept everybody employed. It kept everybody working. And I knew it was a honeymoon sort of phase and that was going to drop off. But at the very beginning, it bought us some time and to try to navigate this kind of new reality we were in.
And how did the revenue shift, from like tap room, restaurants, and retail like LCBO? Yeah,
crazy. So LCBO, we only have the one SKU in there, the one product, and which is still true to this day. So it doesn't account for a whole lot. Certainly not now, but it was a channel that we were going to look to grow. In-store retail was a pretty good one, but for the first couple of years, I would say 60% of our business was licensees, so restaurants and pubs. And so when that disappears and all you've got now is cans, you're switching from 60% in kegs and 40% in cans to 100% shift into cans. Well, first of all, you got to buy a lot more cans. You're bringing in a lot more labor because you're canning everything all the time. There's the associated costs with labeling and all that kind of stuff too. I think somewhere in the middle there, we encountered the first tariffs on aluminum, so that really affected us. So yeah, it was a big shift, big shift for us. And if we look at it today, we're not quite where we were before. A lot of it now is really driving traffic to the tap room for those canned retail sales.
Yeah.
I think restaurants, they've all switched, they've all changed a little bit. Because they don't want to get stuck. If something like this ever happens again, they don't want to get stuck with product that they've already paid for and then they have to throw out and that's
or sit on it for however time, right?
And breweries can't afford to take it back. Because just like any other sort of fresh product, I mean, the integrity of it degrades over time.
Yeah.
So now I would say it's 60-40 turn the other way, where it's tap room and retail sales, and then we've got the restaurants, and then LCBO beer stores and groceries probably less than 2%.
And so when you saw that you had to pivot from kegs back and start pushing cans more, were you pulling stock from the kegs in the freezer, or were you just brewing and strictly all into cans?
Both, actually. So we still had a lot of product that was in kegs. So any of that product, we ended up just canning from those kegs, which is not ideal because you've already spent time and labor to fill the kegs. And then when you're canning from kegs, there's bound to be a little bit more waste than when you do it from like a bright tank, say. So your losses are a little bit higher. But you know what? I'll take the 3% loss from canning from a keg than 100% loss if you just can't sell it at all, right? So that
100%.
So that just lasted, I mean, very briefly. And then from there on in, anything that went to the tanks was all getting canned.
And then I guess, you know, did you do anything to like simplify anything or automate during this time? I mean, Shopify obviously was a huge one with your online sales, but how did you keep things simple and like keep the lights on, I guess?
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, honestly, it was just the home delivery was it. That's it really. You know, for delivery, I mean, when you come in and you had like 150 home deliveries, and anybody that lives in Ottawa will know just how geographically widespread the city really is. You know, it's a daunting task to actually deliver between Rockland and Stittsville and south of Ottawa, right? So we used, we used this app called Circuit. This is all like product placement that I hope if these guys are listening, you know, throw money our way. I will be more than happy to pimp your stuff.
We'll sponsor the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. But Circuit was great because it, delivery drivers would use this app where you just plug in a bunch of your addresses and then you optimize it, and then it would just optimize all of your stops. And do it for you. So before, we would take all of the home deliveries, and I'm talking like a stack of paper, and then we would look at the postal codes. It'd be 3 of us, 4 of us around a table, and we start divvying up, you know, east, west, and south deliveries. And then trying to figure out, you know, okay, well, this postal code, that's Canada. Oh, this one's Stittsville. This one's Cumberland. And that would take a lot of time. You know, we would start our day at like 7 in the morning, and then we wouldn't get home till like 8, sometimes 8, 9 o'clock at night. And this is 3 or 4 people going out delivering beer. So this app really kind of streamlined a lot of things for us, and it was very affordable for us at the time. So that also helps. So again, you know, like sometimes when you're faced with adversity, it forces you to adapt. Absolutely,
the Bear Grylls, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And what was the biggest, you know, production hurdle during? Was it cans, logistics, you know, hops?
I think, I mean, product wise, we were fine. I would say the biggest hurdle or the biggest thing that gave us a bit of a headache was the cans. So when those aluminum tariffs were implemented, the can supplier at the time, we don't use them anymore. And it's not because of that. But they and everybody in the industry was worried that businesses would be hoarding cans, right? Because it's not just the breweries that are using aluminum cans. It's the soda companies, the energy drink companies that are using them as well, and to a larger degree than we are. So there was a worry that there would be a shortage, that we wouldn't get those cans, or that we wouldn't be able to afford those cans. And we didn't have a plan B. Like, we didn't have a backup bottling line. You know what I mean? I mean, and it did cross our mind. Oh man, are we going to have to try to find a bottling line and source glassware and all this kind of stuff, and caps, and learn a whole new process? Luckily that didn't come to be, but every time we put in a can order, you know, we're kind of waiting with bated breath, you know, that email coming back like, yep, we can fill your order, or sorry, not this time. Luckily that didn't happen, but yeah, there was some tense moments for sure.
For sure. I can totally understand that. Looking back on that whole period, was there any tough calls that kind of aged with you guys, or any that you say you might redo during that time?
Nothing that really sort of comes to mind right now. I think, I mean, even to look back, would we have done anything different? I don't think we could have done anything different. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In fact, it forced us to do things a little bit differently and implement some things that are still in place to this day. Like even, we still offer home delivery, even though we might get 2 or 4 orders a week. But, those are steady clients.
Yeah.
So, and it's a reach that they may not come all the way out to Orleans. So let's get the beer out to them.
Exactly.
It forced us to think about putting in a patio because of the social distancing thing at the time. And now that's kind of it's a main part of our business is having a seasonal patio. I mean, it does make a difference. People, especially Canadians, we love to be outside when we can. So those are things that actually did stem from the pandemic that are still with us to today.
Yeah, and like I remember when I came in, post pandemic when I was working with you guys and I saw the patio, I was like, this is like we should have done this so much sooner. Like, it really it was kind of an element that was missing, but one that I really hope is here to stay with you guys throughout the summer.
Yeah, it's been great. Honestly, like it's every year it's out. It just adds another extra element. It adds a little bit more occupancy, which is really great. So.
Yeah, exactly. What are some of the challenges that you're now seeing, I guess, in the post-COVID world?
It's a lot. It's a lot. Changing habits. Before COVID, we didn't have the legalization of cannabis. We didn't see the uptick in seltzers and other RTDs, so ready-to-drink beverages. So those are some of the bigger challenges right now. Those competitions, right, with other vices, I guess you can say. Plus, there's now a greater shift to non-alcoholic beverages, and then certainly with beer, and people are just not consuming as much. We had higher interest rates, so craft beer, I always say, is a luxury item. If you want a cheap beer, it's out there. You can, if that's your main goal, then I can't compete with that. You know what I mean? It's going to happen. That's fine. So, if you're faced with either buying, putting food on the table or, treating yourself to some 4 or 6 pack of craft beer, you're going to always choose food on the table, right? So, coming out of the pandemic, we started seeing that as well, where people were a lot tighter with their wallets, and with good reason. We were the same way as well. So those challenges were all there. So again, forces us to adapt. So let's not look at our business as just about beer. And so, and I always maintain this now, is that beer is just the product that we make, but we're in the people business. So what can we do to bring people together? What can we do to give people that little escape from reality, even if it's for a couple of hours, whether it's chatting with friends in the tap room or coming down for a show or playing trivia or euchre or whatever the case may be, just hang out with your dog for a bit.
Yeah. I remember when I worked there too, there's even people that would just come there just to bring their dog. They wouldn't even drink any beer.
Yeah.
They just wanted to come be in an environment where they could bring their dogs, and then that goodwill spreads throughout, right? One of the biggest things that you can have is word of mouth, because you can go online and you can read someone's reviews online, but how do you really know that those are real?
That's right.
It's the word of mouth. It's the people vouching for you, saying, I went in and these guys were the most welcoming people, allowing me and my pooch to come in and just, spend time outside, right? Because that was a big thing that I found with people coming out of the pandemic too, was the social aspect. Even me, like I'm a pretty social guy and I like talking, but even those couple years, whatever time it was, it's all just one big blur. But I even like coming out of it was like, I need to remember how to like talk to people and like be friends with people. So I think that was a really good environment for people to come and just talk. And, people generally at breweries are friendly people, right?
Generally speaking. I always say beer is the perfect social lubricant out there, But you're right, though. I mean, there was definitely a shift, like when we were starting to allow people back into the tap room, but it was only every second table, and you have your social distancing and all that stuff. People are still very hesitant to be in close quarters. So, trying to put on a show is very difficult. My gosh, I still remember So we were one of the first breweries to host live comedy outside of like a comedy club type of thing. And then towards the end of the pandemic, we hosted a show, but it was out in the parking lot. And we brought all the tables outside, but it must have been, I think there's a video or a picture out there somewhere. There might have been 50 people, which would have been our capacity anyway. And then between all the tables and chairs outside, I'm talking about like a good 2 to 3 meters between tables. So ask any comedian or any performer. I mean, you want your crowd as sort of close as possible, right? And especially for a comic, you're working off the reactions of people. So when they're really far away from you, you still feel very removed. It was a weird thing. I mean, we tried our best given the situation, but certainly wouldn't want to go back to that again.
Yeah, no, 100%. I personally, I don't see it ever happening again. I don't think people will let something like that happen again.
Yeah,
with the whole lockdowns and everything. But what are some strategies you're using to help protect the margin and keep it healthy while not diluting the brand and the value that you guys have brought to it?
That's a heavy question. Because we're constantly thinking about the consumer and the pressures that they face. So, from a small business point of view, like we still have costs that go up. Yeah. My taxes go up, the price of goods goes up, and we really strive to not pass those costs down to the consumer because it's already expensive. Life is expensive as it is already. Is that a wise business decision? I don't know. Guess time will tell. We can raise prices incrementally, enough that it might make a little bit of impact for us and very little impact on the end consumer kind of thing. But really just trying to stay as lean as possible, keep your waste down as much as possible. So for us, like waste would be when it's a packaging day, you want to make sure you're utilizing as much product as you can without like having stuff foam or spill or whatever. So our waste is low. Even when we brew, Justin's really great at keeping our efficiency up. So we're extracting as much beer as we can out of the raw product that we've got. Dealing with products as well, different goods. We talk to all of our different suppliers, always trying to get the best quote for the best product that we can. And that's really about it right now.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense too, right? Because if you're doing like brand loyalty is so crucial to people in today's economy, right? Because if you're passing off your costs on your consumer, well, that's going to leave a sour taste in their mouth, right? Yeah. And that's you're not trying to, the only sour taste you should leave in their mouth is beer. You know what I mean? That's the only taste you should be leaving in people's mouths as a brewery. And you're trying to offer them a place to unwind, a place to forget about all the BS that's going on.
Yeah.
And if you're passing off your costs down, well, that's just reminding them that life is getting expensive. Things are going up. So I think that's super crucial. And I feel like it's going to pay off for you in the end in keeping that loyalty. And again, like I said, with the word of mouth and, building and maintaining your reputation, because it's super, super crucial in today's world, right? With online, especially if you get one bad comment or one bad review out there online, that could derail things for you, or it could start to put your name out there in a light that you don't want. So
it could sink a business. Absolutely. Golly, what was I just gonna? It was just reminding me of something. And once it hits me, I'll come back to it.
Yeah, no worries. And what's your approach to, hiring and retaining the right people? Because you've done a great job of hiring really good people in the brewery around you. What's your approach to keeping them and finding them, I guess?
Oh, yeah. You know what? Just be a good human. I mean, if I could sum it up in one, treat people the way you'd want to be treated. We've all had jobs with like asshole bosses. You know what I mean? We've worked in some very toxic environments before. Justin and I have had those experiences, and we've had some great experiences as well. So at the end of the day, we want the business and we want the people working for us to be a reflection of who we are. And Justin and I like to think that we're good people, and we treat people the way that they should be treated, with respect. We're very extremely appreciative of our customer base, because without them, there is no Stray Dog.
Yeah.
Right. And that extends to our staff as well. I think it's important. I mean, that's your best asset, is having amazing staff. So at the end of the day, it's not like when we do an interview, for instance, it's a lot less about your background and your experience. Yeah, that does certainly come into play, but it's your personality. How do you resonate with other people? How do you deal with certain situations? And so I think some of it's been a little bit of luck. I always say that at the brewery, it's a home for strays. And if you look at a lot of our staff, some of them were just kind of strays that just kind of popped in, and they became friends, that became employees, and vice versa. So some of it's luck, but some of it's also because we treat people the way they should be treated. And I will say, we'll always have the backs of our employees. Like they'll always have our support, and we just want them to just be happy and proud to work where they are.
Yeah, and I think everyone I talk to, working there, they all absolutely love you and Justin. You guys are, I always say it is, apart from this one, it was the best job. It was the best job I ever had, because you guys are super understanding. Yeah, cool. You're super chill. You're not just about driving sales and numbers. You're about the people around you too, which in turn makes your employees happy, which is going to drive you sales.
Well, that's it.
It's really, in order to make, investors, shareholders, people happy, you need to have a happy staff, because they are your front line. They're who's dealing with people day in and day out. And without your happy employees, you really don't have a good business model, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. And you can't force it. Like if people are miserable, they don't like coming to work. If you start creating this toxic environment, it will reflect all the way down to, how you greet or not greet somebody coming into the door, what that first impression is like. And to us, like, that's such a vital part of our business too, is coming in, getting that positive first impression.
Yeah.
Even before you have that first sip of beer, the beer might be amazing. Well, in our case, it is.
It is, yeah.
But if you have like horrible service, well, there's, like I said before, there's all kinds of great beer out there. So it's very easy for somebody to say, well, you know what, screw these guys. I was treated poorly. I'm going to go somewhere else down the street.
100%. And my dad, who you know very well, he has this saying that you can never make a second first impression.
That's true.
Because honestly, it really is. If you come in and someone treats you not well, they're going to have, it's really, really hard to redeem yourself once you've given a bad impression on someone. I can personally attest to this, and I'm sure you can 10 times over.
Yeah, and you work 2 to 3 times harder to try to get those people back, right? Why would you put in all that extra effort when you could have just done it right from the first time?
Yeah, 100%.
It seems like common sense.
Yeah,
but not everybody has it.
Exactly. Or someone's common sense, maybe, everyone's got their own paradigm, right? The way their experiences, the way that they were raised. So some people don't get it right away, which I understand that, but sure. You can always shift your paradigms as well, right? You can change your outlook based on your experiences. And I think that that's one of the greatest asset we have as people, is being able to see things from both sides and then being able to make our own opinions, not just from the past, but also looking, to the future as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, that was awesome. That was great. That was a great little combo we had going there. Which, of your social medias, which of the online channels do you find is really, helping drive traffic to the store and, sales?
Yeah, because I'm a bit older. Yeah. I'm a Facebook guy.
Yeah.
And I think if you look at a lot of our demographics, Instagram and Facebook are big for us. We've embraced Instagram a lot more, obviously. So I'm on the older end of Stray Dog, and Justin just celebrated his birthday yesterday. He's almost 10 years younger than I am, and he's got a young family. And then we've got, if you look at our staff, they're all, kind of that 30, 40-year-old kind of range. And so I've thought, are we missing the boat on things like TikTok? Because I'm not. Personally, I'm not on TikTok. It's funny. My wife is. She's on it every day. But she uses it because she's entertained by it. She uses it for recipes, all this kind of stuff. I just know that for Facebook in general, it's got the tools that really support some of the stuff that we do, right? So if there's a new beer release, we can send it out to Instagram and Facebook, and it reaches a pretty good audience. Yeah. I think combined with the two, we have several thousand people.
Well, I think on Instagram alone, you have 8,000.
I think it's 8,000. Yeah, I think almost the same on Facebook. So that's pretty good. Once we create an event with all the details, it's all right there. So I was asked not too long ago if we could, what is your target audience, And before it was so broad, it's like, I just want all the craft beer drinkers.
Yeah.
But that's just not feasible, because, I have a son who's 22. He works at the brewery. He doesn't even drink anymore. A lot of his friends don't. But when they do, they'll reach for a craft beer every once in a while. So I think if you look at the landscape of our customer base, I would say, again, it's probably, I was not going to say, not split evenly between male, female, but it's pretty darn close. There's a lot more women now that are enjoying craft beer than there was before.
Really?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I think that is a demographic that is, if you're not paying attention to that, you better start soon, because it's a very discerning demographic in terms of flavor. This is my unscientific opinion here, but I remember hearing this somewhere that women have more sensitive palates than men. And my wife has proven that too. Like when I used to get her to taste some of my homebrew, she could pick up things that I couldn't pick up. So I think any demographic, any target audience, you should never ignore. But I would say probably between 35 and 55, which is kind of a wider range. That's kind of where we position ourselves. And if you look at who uses Facebook and Instagram, they're not on TikTok nearly as much, right? So using Facebook, Instagram, drive people to the website, that's kind of our big thing. But going back to what you've said before, nothing beats the power of word of mouth and having that human interaction.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's, to your point as well, one of my best friends, he's a teacher at the high school that we went to. And he says that kids these days do not drink. Back in our day, we used to tell our parents, "Oh, I'm sleeping over at Brandon's house this weekend." And then, I'd be belly up in a field somewhere off my rocker. And, I think that helped forge super strong friendships with all my friends, because, you almost die with someone together. It almost trauma bonds you to a certain degree. And I find, and you may see this as well, because your daughter's still in high school, that kids these days they're not forming as strong friendships with people. A lot of times it's, me. It's about me. I gotta look at myself first and protect myself first. And it's not really how the world works, nor should it work. You need support systems, you need people. And not saying that drinking is the answer, but I mean, going out and, having strong friendships, I think it's paramount to everyone, right? You need interaction. You need people that care. You need people that you care about too. It's the inverse. And, you're definitely seeing a large shift between that, with people being on things like TikTok. And you have this whole generation of kids that, were in high school, grade 9 at the beginning of the pandemic. Well, they're graduating at the end of the pandemic. And then now they're not as social. They're all on their phones. They like watching Twitch and streaming rather than going down to the local brewery and grabbing a beer and catching up on, things that are going on.
Yep. You're right. So the age difference between my son and my daughters is 5 years, and how they interact in general is quite different. It's quite interesting because my daughter, who is now 17, a lot of she's got some very close friends, and they're all from school now. But she also developed, close friendships. I'm using air quotes with people that she had never met in person. She had a friend in New York City, and this is all through online interactions.
Yeah.
I remember she was meeting people. She was talking to people through like online gaming, like Roblox and all that kind of Minecraft, whatever. And I could not wrap my head around that, because the way you develop relationships was like you met people. It was either through school, through work, or other social interactions. And now that social interaction a lot of it's driven online now, right? And I guess here we are talking about the psychology of the youth of today, and I'm just a beer guy.
And I'm just a podcast host.
But we're going to solve the world's problems
exactly,
right now.
Yeah.
But it's funny, like these social interactions are starting to be developed online. And what's interesting is that because you're behind a screen or you're behind a keyboard, you can pretty much be who you want to be, whether it's your true self or it's something else that you wish you could be, that you would never dream of doing or saying in front of somebody. You know what I mean? Like in a face-to-face interaction. And there's a danger in that, I think, too, because at the end of the day, human beings are social creatures to begin with.
Yeah.
And I think screen time and all that stuff has really stripped away a lot of things. So I'm really hoping as, they age, and I'm starting to see this now with my daughter, like as she gets older, she's also noticing the importance of having those face-to-face interactions. And she really is. I mean, she's definitely a social creature as well, and she surrounds herself with close friends all the time. But yeah, you can't discount the interactions that people have online. And
100%.
You just have to use it in a safe way, I guess, and in a way that's obviously it's not harmful to people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's why it's also important to be a part of the community as well, because you're the person going out, shaking people's hands. People are going to the brewery, they're making friends with people. People are out at events. You introduce someone to someone, they strike up a friendship, and then that's what it is. So what does community mean to the brewery, beyond just donations and social media?
We're a hub in the community. Honestly, like it's a gathering place for people. And whether it is the beer, whether it's the fact that there's dogs, or because it's a particular event, I can cite so many examples of where, people that became our regulars met each other as customers, and then they became friends.
Yeah.
I have examples of, like, I have one staff member who, dating one of our regulars.
Oh,
and not just like dating, like they live together.
Yeah.
They're being this wonderful relationship. That's an amazing couple. And that may never have happened if it weren't for Stray Dog.
Yeah.
We've had people that have gotten engaged at our business, and we've even had a wedding there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's hard to put your finger on it. And it's not like a formula where you can write down and give it to somebody and say, now you can do it.
Yeah.
It sounds a bit cliche, but it's organic. It really is the people that come into your establishment that create the vibe, that really give it its life force, if you will. You know?
Yeah, and it's not even the impact that you just have on them. It's also the impact that they have on you, whether it's making a connection with a restaurant, or, whether it's, just you need, like, to say you have a can supplier. Oh, I know a guy that deals in cans. Something like that too. It's the impact that they have on you. And I can definitely see it. Whenever you talk to people, you just absolutely, like, when me and you were pouring at the beer festival together, when someone comes up, hey, Marc, how's it going? The way you just light up when you see someone that recognizes you and knows you, it really is just amazing to see. Now, was there any partnerships or events that have helped, move the needle in that regard?
Probably. There's been so many different events and things that we've taken part in. It's hard to kind of nail it down into one. But I mean, I'll always harken back to the Orleans Craft Beer Festival. I think is huge, not only for us, but when we talk about community, that is an example of what the craft beer industry was really, I think, what it really means to people and what it can really do for this city and this province. And that's what I was going to say earlier on too. We were talking about challenges and that kind of thing too. I just wanted to shout out to the province of Ontario and the Doug Ford government. And this is not something I would normally do, but in terms of modernizing the beer industry, by reducing, beer taxes, by making things a little bit easier, has really helped our business. There's a long road to go, but we are making inroads in that. So just wanted to bring that up before I forgot.
Yeah.
But then back to the Orleans Craft Beer Festival, and maybe this just speaks to Orleans, but I don't think so, because I've been to a lot of beer festivals. It really, again, brings people together. Social lubricant. People are chatting. You got that one common element that everybody can talk about. Oh, I see you're drinking a IPA from blah, blah, blah. What do you think of that one? Oh, you should really try this one, Oh, great. Where'd you go to school? Oh, who are your friends? Blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And then it just kind of spirals from there. So I think for us, it's making those human connections. I get really excited when I meet people for the first time that have never heard of us or have never tried our product before, because to me, that is a golden opportunity to make that introduction and to make that first impression that we were talking about before. So I think that was, and those have been happening for years. When I remember when Kevin, the organizer, thought about taking a year off, we were the first ones no, you can't, because this happens in June. It's the beginning of summer. It's the unofficial kickoff to summer. And it wasn't just us. It was the community, sort of voicing he never realized the impact he had with this event. Yeah. Not just on vendors, but also just for people. This is an event that people look forward to every single year. So anyways, I would say that would be the big one for us. Yeah,
100%. And it's such a great time too. All the bands that they have come play. Yeah. Good food with the food trucks that they have there. They even have I think I forget who it was, but they had even a seltzer or alcohol offering for people that didn't maybe want to have beer, but they still they were inclusive for everybody.
Yeah, I should mention, it's not just it is called the Craft Beer Festival, but there's also wineries and there's ciders and there's distillers.
There's something for everyone.
There's absolutely everything for everyone.
And speaking on top of that, you're a big Orleans guy, born and raised. You've lived there for a really long time. What sort of things do you do to kind of source local, whether it's ingredients, artists, that you have in the brewery, musicians that you have come do shows? How do you source these things?
Yeah, again, a lot of it's dumb luck. A lot of it's word of mouth. So from a product standpoint, it's very hard to source everything 100% locally. Obviously, the water is 100% local, but I mean, nobody in Orleans or nobody in Ottawa is growing, base malt. The closest we can get is probably Arnprior, Mississippi Mills. Yeah. Hops, there are hop growers on the Quebec side and on the Ontario side. Unfortunately, it's not the type of hops that we would use in a lot of the beers that we do, so we have to source them elsewhere. Yeast, I mean, unless you're propagating it yourself, we can get it from Montreal generally, so that's about as local as that usually gets. But when it comes to entertainment, there is a very deep well of talent in this city. And I'm a big believer in supporting. So making beer to me is part art and part science, and I sucked at science. And so the art piece of it needs to be highlighted and celebrated. And I know how hard it is for local musicians and local artists to get noticed. So why not use our space to highlight that a little bit? So we try to have like local art on the walls. If we're going to bring in, say, like a hot sauce or beard oil or something like that, we're going to certainly go for a local producer.
Yeah.
And if they're using local ingredients, even better. And when it comes to musicians, I really try to support more of the original artists, singer-songwriters, if you will, because there's not enough venues, in my opinion, in Ottawa to begin with.
I completely agree with you.
But so much talent out there, and they just need a stage, excuse me, and a microphone to share that. And I mean, everybody has their own different tastes in music and whatever, but all I can say is if you just trust me. If I have somebody coming in, it's because I know and I've heard them and I really believe in them. I really honestly think they are outstanding people and outstanding artists, and that they should be they should be on stage and people need to come out and listen to them.
Well, 100%. And like, I can speak to that personally too. Like when this was pre-pandemic, but you had Mimi Obansoin come in and perform in the brewery. She's a very grassroots style, like folk almost. Yep. And that was not my particular cup of tea.
Yep.
I was, heavy metal. I like a lot of EDM, some rap, but a lot of rock as well.
Yep.
And I had never really listened to music like that. And, her doing it live there in front of me, I bought all of her CDs that she had for sale there. I gave them to my mom because my mom really likes that style of music too. And that just goes to show that, again, like you just said, trust your tastes in music, because if you're going to have them there, you want them to, you know that they're going to be good. And it was a really, really cool experience. I was pouring, but by the end of it, I had my eyes closed and I was just like letting it, filter through the brain, take everything in. And it was an awesome experience.
Yeah. It's funny because we didn't build the brewery, for events. It's a manufacturing and production facility, with a very small tap room that's quite intimate, cozy, if you will.
Yeah.
And it's like a living room show or a basement show or a home concert. You know what I mean? That's the vibe that comes out of it. I think I know for me personally, I know how extremely lucky I am to sit there as a fan and to just bear witness to somebody who's, to me, is just incredibly talented and can make me, feel certain things that only music can do. And I just want to share that with other people.
That's awesome. Yeah, it really is awesome, right? You just want to share the love with people,
well,
honestly.
That's it. I mean, like I said, life's too short and it sucks being miserable. So find the joy and happiness in all those little things and then things can get so much better.
Yeah. And has community feedback on these events and things like that ever, kind of changed a product or, helped an idea come out at the brewery, like an event or something?
Not sure. Do you have anything you're thinking of in particular? Like,
well, I mean, like, for example, like you guys had the burlesque show. Like, how did that?
Okay.
How do things like that come into fruition? Do people just like reach out?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. That's a good example. So, like I said, we used to do comedy, and I should say we still do comedy, just not nearly as often because Ottawa is it's a big, small town.
Yeah.
And there's only so many local comics around before you start hearing the same jokes all the time. So we like to bring in comedy every once in a while, and it's great when they come from Montreal, Toronto, Cornwall, and some local ones as well. So we did a couple of variety type shows, and through one of those, we had an element of burlesque. So I remember doing a show, and it was like a cabaret. So we had music, comedy, burlesque, and magic. I love magic. But I'd never been or exposed to burlesque before.
Yeah.
And when I hear that word, I always picture like flapper girls and like, the 1940s and 50s and feather boas and that kind of thing. Right. And so when I first experienced it, I'm like, oh, this is really cool. It's entertaining. Sure, it's a little titillating, but it's classy. The people that do it put in so much time and effort, so much work, their own money. They make their own costumes, and they're practicing all the time to entertain people.
Yeah.
You know, so when they approached us and say, would you be interested in hosting just strictly a burlesque show? I said, 100%. Why not? I mean, I'd rather try something, and if it fails, whatever, that's fine. But at least I can say I tried it rather than, you know, dismissing it without even knowing. I mean, to me, that's just ignorance. So, and I knew what it would have bought. I just never realized how great it would have been. So, so I love doing stuff like that because it also, you know, sets us apart from what other people are doing. And in the East End, we don't have that kind of entertainment. So when you're in the suburbs and you work downtown or whatever, once you're home, you don't want to go back downtown.
Yeah.
You don't want to fight traffic. If you can find something that's hyper local and super entertaining and you can get back home before, you know, paying the babysitter double overtime, then why not provide that for people? Yeah. And if it's something like burlesque, why can't it be in the suburbs? Why does it have to be somewhere downtown? It can be anywhere, right?
Exactly. And like Orleans is this own I call it almost like its own city.
It is.
Because it's like its own ecosystem of just everything. So to be able to offer that to people, I think is a super, super good strategy for the brewery. Now, I want you to kind of paint a picture here. 5 years from now, what impact do you hope that the brewery is known for locally?
Oh boy. You know, I just want to be relevant in people's lives. You know, I like doing what we're doing right now. I think, you know, when we first sort of started and before the pandemic and when things were, you know, when the craft beer industry was still on this big upward trajectory, you know, kind of the sky was the limit, you know, like either you build and you get really big and then you become this behemoth of a beer provider and you know, you want to be the biggest in the city, then the biggest in Ontario, and then maybe you go and get bought out by somebody, you know, and then life happens and things out of your control happen, and then you realize, okay, maybe let's step back and see like what are we doing right, and let's keep doing that, but do it better. And so, I think probably in the last couple of years we've really focused on being, and I like to describe our place as more of a boutique brewery, which means that it allows us to be a lot more nimble, a lot more flexible, and to do things that are different, where when you're stuck kind of doing the exact same 5 or 6 products all the time, you know, this allows us to play a little bit more. And I think people really kind of like that. So just keep doing what we're doing, but always constantly improving and finding new ways to get new customers, to build that revenue, you know, to pay down debts, and really just to be part of the community thread. I think that's super important.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's community. That's the main goal, I guess, right? So I think we'll close it off here. But where can people find you next? You know, tap room. Any seasonal releases or any upcoming events? Yeah,
absolutely. So we are located in Orleans, as mentioned, 501 Lacolle Way. It's in the Taylor Creek Business Park. So what does that mean? Well, if you're coming to Orleans, take the last exit, which is Trim Road, and we're just off the first roundabout. In terms of events, my goodness, we've got, we're either at the Heart of Orleans BIA markets, Navan markets, Metcalf. You can find us still at the Metcalf market. We'll give a shout out to the Orleans Cork and Fork, which is happening in November. We are just one of a handful of breweries. There's going to be some great distillers and wineries and food vendors there as well. So check that out online, Cork and Fork Orleans. And then we've got some really great concerts coming up at the brewery as well. So I encourage people to check out our website at straydogbrewing.ca. And we have a full calendar of events there. So check us out.
Yeah. And seasonal releases you have?
Yeah, man. Next up, we've got our ESB, which is called London Calling. A little shout out to Joe Strummer and the Clash.
Yeah.
Also, just ESB is a really great beer. So that'll be our newest one coming out in about a week and a bit.
Mm-hmm. And you just had Booyah come out as well. Your pumpkin,
Yeah.
pumpkin spice ale for all the pumpkin spice girlies out there.
Yeah.
The PB&J stout that you have out right now as well. They've got so many great beers, guys. Honestly, just go give them a try. Go to the tap room. Say hi to Marc when you see him. And thanks for coming on the podcast, brother.
Thanks for having me, man. It was fun.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.